It is that time of year where the football season is starting to get closer and closer, and so now I feel it's the right time that the draft is long gone, the free agency period is mostly done. It's time to give my top 10 teams in the NFL heading into the 2025-2026 season. I thought about doing a power ranking of every single team. I just thought that would take too much time, and the top 10 teams are really the teams that are competing for the Super Bowl. The other teams that are like mid or bad really don't have a complete shot at it. So here's my top 10. Starting with number 10, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa is really underrated in my opinion. They have a top 3 receiving core in the league. You have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Cade Otton. I really like Bucky Irving. Baker Mayfield is a top 10 QB in my eyes. Your defense is strong. And I think Todd Bowles is an underrated head coach. And so I feel like this team will perform similar in the regular season to how they did last year, but will have more success in the playoffs just because they are able to grow their, connection more. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all the guys are able to connect with Baker even more now that they have played with him for 2 years. The bond is going to be there. And I think this team is slightly improved, so I think they'll do slightly better than last year. They're a top 10 team. Number 9, we have the Minnesota Vikings. People are all over the Vikings in good and bad ways. I'm in the middle. You can't deny the defense is extremely talented. You have so many great players, I can't even begin to list them all. They're not like the superstars like Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, but they all do their role extremely well. You have star players complemented by great role players for this defense. Not to mention the offense has a nucleus of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones is a great running back. It really just depends on JJ McCarthy. There is no weakness on this team besides maybe the quarterback. I like JJ. I think he's going to be good in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be great. It's kind of hard to determine that yet. We haven't really seen him play. But as long as he can be a decent quarterback, the offensive skill group and the defense will do enough to get this team into the playoffs with double-digit wins. And so it's just a good NFL team. It really just depends on JJ for how good they can be. At number 8, maybe a shock to some people, the Houston Texans. One of the most underrated teams in terms of what they've done. In 2 years, CJ Stroud has won 2 playoff games, 1 in each season. And yes, they've been in the wild card round against, you could say, weaker teams. But a lot of people were picking the Chargers in this playoff to beat the Texans. That didn't happen. And a lot of people were picking the Browns to beat the Texans last playoff. That didn't happen. And not to mention, the Texans have competed in divisional round games. In their divisional round game against the Ravens 2 years ago, it was a blowout. But in the first half, they were competing, and they almost hung in there. It's just at the end, they started to fall apart. And in the Kansas City game, they were right there. A few bounces and different things happened, and they win that game. And so that goes without saying that the defense is incredible. One of the best defenses in the NFL, led by Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, Danielle Hunter, Henry To'oTo'o, if that's how you say him, Kamari Lassiter. And the offense is great. Nico Collins. O-line is questionable. CJ Stroud got sacked a ton last year. The O-line was not great, but they drafted some guys. They did trade Laramie Tunsil. And I think CJ Stroud is a top 10 QB as well. So I for sure think that they'll win their division again and make another divisional round appearance. At number 7, we have the Washington Commanders. Now the Commanders are another really interesting team in the NFC. The NFC has gotten better over the past year or so. There's more teams competing. Obviously the Eagles emerged, but not to mention the Lions, the Rams. You have teams like the Bucks that are in this top 10, the Vikings, Packers. You never know about the Cowboys, the Niners, the Bears. So it's really hard to say how good this Commanders team will do this year. People like to say, well, the Texans fell off after year one, which is not true, by the way, but people like to say that. So the Commanders will do the same. I think that's kind of a dumb argument. You can't say because one team did it, another team will as well. And so it really just depends on the defense. If the defense can level up or just be a slight improvement from last year, they can win double-digit games again, no doubt. And Jaden Daniels just has to be what he was last year, was a great quarterback. He doesn't have to do everything, throw for 400 yards a game like a Joe Burrow. He just has to be a consistent quarterback that can get his team wins in the clutch. And if he can do that like he did last year, it's no doubt a top 10 team. At number 6, we have the Los Angeles Rams. They are a team, in my opinion, that can seriously make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. They're just not in that elite tier of the 5 best teams in the NFL, which we're going to get to next. But the Rams, super underrated offseason. I feel like no one's talking about the Devontae Adams addition, even though he's one of the best receivers in the NFL still. Him and Puka are going to be great together. Kyren Williams is a great running back. Higbee, underrated tight end. Their defense with Jared Verse, with Braden Fisk, and a lot of their other pieces. They're a young, youthful, and really good defense that gave the Eagles a run for their money last year. Just were a few plays away from winning. And Matthew Stafford's still a top 10 QB, still can gunsling, get you 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and he can still win you a Super Bowl in the year 2025. So the Rams, close to a top 5 team. I can't put them there, but in a playoff game, I think they can beat anybody. At the number 5 spot, I have the Detroit Lions. This might seem a little bit too low for some people, but hear me out. I'm a little bit skeptical of the Lions because they lost a good amount of their team this offseason. They lost both their coordinators, they lost some defense, they lost a bit of offense as well, guys to retirement on the line. So I can't predict them to win 15 games like they did last year. I have them at like 11, maybe 12, which is still great. That's one of the best records in the NFL if you get that. I just don't have them at 15 wins again. It's going to take some time to adapt to new coaching on offense and defense. Jared Goff is going to have to learn to keep the turnovers down because in the playoffs, that's what costed him the game. I do have him around the top 10 QB level, so I don't think he's bad by any means. I just think that with a coordinator not as good as Ben Johnson, we don't know. He might be better. He might be same level. But losing a guy like Ben Johnson, Jared Goff is just going to have to learn that he has to play more calm football, not be afraid to make the good throw, but also learn not to make the dangerous throw. The defense, they're going to be healthy this year. They're getting Hutchinson back. And the offensive weapons are one of the best offensive skill groups in the league. So they're a top 5 team. I just don't think their regular season is going to be as good as last year's was. At number 4, we have the Buffalo Bills. They're a team that just can't get it done in the playoffs. Historic regular seasons, Josh Allen MVP. The defense is better than ever. Offense is not great around Josh Allen, but you have guys that can get it done. It's just they can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. They haven't beaten them once in the Mahomes-Allen era. And that is what decides Super Bowls. That's what decides, a player's legacy, is the fact that they can't ever beat the Chiefs when it matters in the big game. And if they can do that, then they're for sure top 3, 2, or 1 team in the league. It's just they haven't been able to, so they go below the 2 teams that I have at 1 and 2. And I guess this is a perfect segue to number 3, the Baltimore Ravens, where these 2 teams are inversible. In my opinion, you could put them at 3, 4, either or. I have the Ravens above the Bills just because I like their secondary more than Buffalo's. I have Lamar slightly above Josh Allen. It's like a 1 spot difference. It's not that deep, but I do have Lamar slightly above him. I like Derrick Henry over the Bills running backs. I like the Ravens receivers over the Bills receivers. I like the Ravens tight ends over the Bills tight ends. I just think the Ravens are a more complete team. They were super close to beating the Bills in the divisional round. I feel like if they do, you never know, they might be able to beat Kansas City in that AFC Championship game, and they're the ones playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. But that didn't happen, obviously. And now these two teams are known as the teams that can't beat Patrick Mahomes when it matters most. Speaking of, my number 2 team is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to put the Eagles in at the 1 spot now, but we're going to talk about the Chiefs first. So the Chiefs, a lot of people are saying they're not top 5, they're not as good as they once were. That's dumb. I mean, they made the Super Bowl, they've been in the Super Bowl for the past 3 seasons. Mahomes is still as great as he's ever been. Andy Reid is a top head coach in the league. You have a great defense, better receivers. Travis Kelce's still there, top tier O-line. So they're for sure a top 5 team. I just don't know if they will win the Super Bowl or get back there this year. I like the Ravens, I like the Bills. Obviously Texans are on here too. Not to mention teams like the Chargers, the Broncos, who are really close to making this list, or the Bengals. If they can get in the playoffs, they can for sure give the Chiefs a run for their money. So I just don't think that they're that top team like they used to be. They're still number 2, but not number 1. And number 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Just won the Super Bowl. Elite defense, elite offense, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. I mean, I could go on and on with the players on this team. People are concerned that they lost their offensive coordinator, or they lost Milton Williams, or guys that contributed to the Super Bowl win. People forget how young this Eagles defense is. They're only going to get better. You have DeJean, you have Quinyon Mitchell, you have Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, what's that guy? Jordan Davis, yeah, he's really good too. This team is just so loaded that they can't go anywhere except 1. And that's my top 10 ranking. I thought about the Broncos, I thought about the Chargers, Packers, maybe. But this is a good top 10 list in my opinion. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.